We live, we live, we live. Welcome to the cut. Another episode. We got the OGs in here. I think I'm pretty sure it's just gonna be us today, which is fine. I don't give a shit. This is how we used to doing it. We had great episodes doing it just this way. I got my man Wicker Thurman, my man the bad guy. I'm your host, Country Boy. We're doing this. We're doing this again. We're doing this again, man. Y'all want to say what's up to the people?
Oh man, we here, we live. I'm probably gonna piss y'all off today, but that's what I
Oh,
normally do.
that's automatic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm 1 foot in on this, 1 foot out. So
Uh, uh,
normally when I'm that way on a discussion, people only hear the bad part. They don't want to hear the part that when you say, "But no, I agree with you on that."
Yeah.
All they hear
yeah.
is this nigga said he was right. That's all you want to hear.
First off, what up, DP? Every
What's up,
week,
what up, DP? How you doing? Out here living her best life.
and me, I got some logical arguments that I'm gonna present to the people, and you be the judge. So let's make it cracking. Let's go.
All right, all right. So, um, first thing we're gonna talk about is Nick Cannon because he was making waves. He been making waves all this week. With basically what happened is he has a podcast called Cannon's Class, which basically the idea of it is to try to teach. It's probably supposed to be a course and enlighten people, so that they can grow and learn and be better. So on a particular episode, he had Professor Griff, who is a
Is he your
former
professor?
member of. Yeah, no, he's a former member of Public Enemy. He
Yeah,
was let go from or left Public Enemy, and I think 88, 89 after some anti-Semitic comments he made
Mm-hmm.
in an interview. Um, Now this is years ago. Since then, he has a website, and I think at the time he was like the professor of knowledge or minister of knowledge within Public Enemy. So what they attempted to do is that if you came for the music or you came for the live show, but you wanted to learn more, they were here for that. And this is what he would do. He used to carry like 2 suitcases worth of books, to help people and so that they could, enrich their mind. Um, anyway, on this particular show, they discuss, man, he got in trouble in particular for his comments about, Judaism and Hebrews and his comments about white people in particular. Um, so Professor Griff in his earlier, and this is where his earlier interview, the one that ended up having him leave Public Enemy, played a lot into this current conversation because this is what it got it sparking. Because he made the argument that it's impossible to be anti-Semitic if we are the true Semitic people. You see what I'm saying? And they
Yeah.
spent the entire and because I listened to the actual podcast, which by the way is hard as fuck to find. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not.
Because he took it down.
I think he took it down, and I
Yeah, he
had to
took it
find
down.
I had to find a copy of it on YouTube, so I could listen to it and find out what the comments said, because I wanted to hear it outside of just a soundbite. I wanted to hear it inside the context of this conversation, and basically the entire argument he had with Judaism is that who are the real true Israelites? That was the major argument that he was attempting to make with that case, is that we are the true Israelites. Professor Griff made the analogy that it was as if someone stole your bike, and 2 years later you attempted to try to get your bike back. You
Okay.
were trying to get your bike back, and they have convinced everyone that it is now their bike and has painted the bike and has made it purple, and now
Yeah.
it's a different color, but it's not. But it's your bike.
Okay. And my argument, because like I feel like the whole Nick Cannon thing, you got to take it in pieces to dispel it. So let's start with the whole Black Israelites thing. In order for you to come to the conclusion that African Americans who are living in the U.S. currently are descendants of the Hebrew people who left Egypt, what you basically have to do is you basically have to quash in your mind that, remember, these people who left Egypt were going to be a nomadic people, right? So if there are no nomadic people, then that means that they basically dispersed out of Egypt in all directions and basically just went about living their lives, right?
Right.
So I'm not saying that it's not possible that any of us who are former descendants of slave could be related to those people that left there. But I'm also like, those are not all the people that they rounded up. They rounded up just a bunch of people out of Africa. And it's quite literally possible that some of those people from Africa had nothing to do with the Hebrews, nothing to do with that, and were just regular people who just lived their life in Africa and just were taken. So you can't just co-opt, a whole
And
sect and make it like all of us them when you really ain't got no evidence that that is the truth.
and one of the arguments that people would make is that most of the African Americans that are here in the United States come from Western Africa, and the people that are talking about it, especially the Ethiopian Jews, are Western Africans. So we don't directly descend from that line, but the argument, once again, Nick Cannon made, is that we're all black, and that us is them and them is us. So it doesn't matter where I came from. We are all tied because of the melanin in our skin, and an argument could be made that we don't know exactly where we came from, that any of us could have come from any part of Africa. The only place that we know is that where we left from. All we know is where we left from, which would be Western Africa, Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau, something like that.
And my whole thing about their argument is that if you look at the biblical text, which basically says that we left Egypt and Moses parted the Red Sea, and if that's the case, then those people, naturally, the bulk of them, actually crossed into Saudi Arabia. And so they, honestly, the bulk of them have nothing to do with sub-Saharan or Saharan Africa. So that negates that whole argument right there. That the bulk of them. Yes, it does, because if that was the case, these nomadic people would have just mixed in with all African, and you
but
can't.
The thing is, your logic is based
down.
off what you just said. Your whole logic is based off biblical text,
right?
It's not. It's not based off of biblical.
That's what you said. You said based off biblical text. Moses parted the Red Sea, and they ended up in Saudi Arabia.
And I'm not saying that all of the people crossed over into Saudi Arabia. I'm just saying that the verbal history that was passed down.
The thing is, you're making the same argument that he's making.
Arabia.
You said that you saying the same thing. He said that we all know where we left from, but we don't all know where we came from.
No,
that's all you saying.
That's not the argument that he made. He made the argument. He's saying that all of us are descendants of this one group of people. What I'm saying is that we're not all descendants of this one group of people.
Well, according to what Mike said, he didn't say that he just said that we connected through our, the color of our skin. We might not all be direct descendants, but we all got something in common. And that sounds like the same thing you're saying.
That is not what he said, because he basically tried to boil down that group of people directly to the people that were taken from the Sudan, what's some other place, Nigeria, Mali, Ghana, all those types of places. And all I'm saying is that that's not, while that part is true, that does not mean that we are direct descendants of this group of people who were set free in Egypt and whom persecution or quote unquote slavery is the legacy of those said people.
Right. And also within the whole story, it's not just an argument about who is the rightful who's the true Jews. It was also a whole argument about who about knowledge. Is that as soon as you come into knowledge, or as soon as you start trying to spout knowledge or educate people, is people want to attempt to silence you. And this is the argument, and it's one of these things is a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because when you do things like what Nick Cannon did with this episode, which was actually taped like a year ago.
Yeah, that's when I saw it. I didn't see the recent one. I saw one that he did released, a long time ago.
It said that he filmed it 2 weeks ago and then released it.
But this must be the second conversation he had about it, because I seen him talking the same stuff, like he said about
last week. Aired 2 weeks ago. It was filmed last year and aired 2 weeks ago.
Well, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. The text, what they're talking about, is not time sensitive. It wouldn't change in a year, 2 years.
And my only problem with what Nick Cannon said about this one subject, because like I said before, you could parse all this stuff differently.
Right.
About this one subject was that he came to it from a point of the conspiracy rabbit hole, which means that you believe a conspiracy, and so you go out and seek information to confirm that conspiracy, and the only information that you absorb is the knowledge to confirm said conspiracy, and you don't look at anything else or anybody who refutes that. And so basically you buy in and you espouse this conspiracy as truth, not really speaking to it from a point of knowledge. And by building upon that, then you start bringing in other biases, and then you start spewing a whole bunch of stuff that is not necessarily connected to the original conspiracy, but are ancillary conspiracies. And you basically you're going circling the drain.
So to move on from this particular point, because there's actually two things that he said. So we're going to move on to the second part, where he basically called white people savages. So, and this is why this episode it's an hour and 20 minutes long, and it's a lot to unpack here, and it's a lot of opinions mixed in with some truth. And like I was telling them earlier, it's tough to, when you're listening to it, to say, okay, this is there's some truth to this. That sounds a little wonky. I don't really necessarily believe that. So when you're listening to it, you don't really know what to believe or how much of this is truth. Now, when he mentioned white people in this particular episode, he was saying that their melanin in their skin is a deficiency. That is actually, I feel like the Judaism thing is a matter of opinion to me. Like, hey, if you feel like you're the true Jews, you fine.
Especially in this day and age, call yourself what you want to call yourself.
Yeah,
right?
You can call yourself what you want to call you. I believe you. But the second part is what I feel like people I thought would have the most problem with, because the idea that you would say people have a deficiency and they're naturally savages because they know that they're deficient. Basically, he basically said they lack compassion because of the lack of melanin in their skin, and it made them savages. And every black person or every person of color that they came in contact with, they sought to take them out because they knew that they were really deficient. And I'm like, that's a dark slope to go down.
Well, see, I see where he got that basis from, because I think feel as though the problem he had with is that, like, he doesn't understand colonialism, which is the train of thought which leads you to that path. And what he should have done was he should have recognized and researched what colonialism is, to understand that colonialism is the real problem, not a deficiency of melanin or whatever, or being from the wherever or whatever. It is actually colonialism, which actually has its roots in, basically, I would say, Viking history.
Right.
And the fact of you got to understand that most of these people in the Eastern European bloc are actually descendants of the Vikings who came from Norway, Sweden, those types of areas. And you understand what the Vikings are, not the Minnesota Vikings that we watch on Sundays, but actual Vikings. Their whole mantra was rape, pillage, and plunder as I take over your area. And
Right.
these are the descendants that we're currently dealing with. And so colonialism is actually the I guess you would call it the next
Descendant.
iteration
Yeah.
of Viking mentality, which is that like I need to come over to your land, take what I need and take it over and be, you know, the occupiers of that particular land.
Now, as far as with that, and that's some, and I kind of feel like that's dangerous thinking. And one of the problems, and one of the reasons why, when I listened to the podcast, and then I saw people were like, "I'm with Nick. Where's the lies?" and things like that. Here's like with the first part. Hey, whatever. This what you religion is what you want to believe. You want to call yourself the true Jews. Whatever. The second part is a dangerous slope because this is the sort of thing that white supremacists say about us. This is the sort of thing they say about black people when they call you a monkey. They say you're deficient, that we're naturally prone to violence. So when you say this sort of thing about white people and that they're savages and they're predisposed to conquer and taking over people, I mean, you open that door up for them to say that same thing about you.
But is that not history? Is that not what they did?
No.
Now to say they did it because they lack melanin, I can get with you on that theory, but shit, truth be told, these motherfuckers rolling around cutting people's hands off and taking shit.
Wait.
Yeah.
I think you have to. That's why I labeled it as colonialism.
You can label it as, you can call it whatever you want to call it, but it's still a motherfucker cutting people's heads off. Now, at the end of the day, I think it's been scientifically proven that having less melanin is deficient, right? That we have the dominant gene. If we mix with them, you're gonna come out black, right?
The irony of all of this is
you could call it deficient if you want to, right?
The irony of all of this is that all of us are descended from Africa. The first humans were descended from Africa. We can trace our DNA of every living human being to one particular tribe in Africa.
Oh, so yeah, we are one people. I don't think we should ever be separate.
To say that, some person in Europe who over, evolution made their skin lighter because of their climate that they were living in now is a savage that because of their lack of melanin. Look, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that make you savage, but just because that didn't make you a savage don't mean you wasn't a savage. These motherfuckers were savage.
And you could go and say that
I think you have to,
when you start looking at individual incidences, it's really tough. But what I will say is that human beings, when put in a similar situation where they are the aggressors, treat other human beings poorly. So I don't really know if it's a skin color issue.
Whoa. No, I disagree with that.
We can just look straight to was it Liberia? Liberia is a country where African slaves went back to Africa, where slaves went back to Africa to attempt to make their own country, and then treated the people that were already there worse than the slave owners treated themselves. This is what we do as humans.
Well, I mean, after but the thing is, after you've been through something like that, that's all you know. So that's you conquer the same way you was conquered,
and it does not.
You learn from your masters, right?
Throughout human history, humans have always treated each other poorly. We are warlike people by nature. I subscribe to the theory, and you can say that I'm wrong, that people are mean to people by nature. That you could be white, black, green. You can look at anywhere on this globe, and they could be the same color, and they're all mean to each other.
I ain't saying your color makes you mean.
We all can agree tribalism exists. My thing is that people typically, especially those of us with a darker or more melanin, typically at some point reach a equilibrium with the surroundings. And what I've noticed is that the people with less melanin typically, especially those from that European bloc or continent typically don't reach that same type of equilibrium with the environment and those around them. So you can take what you want from there.
At least just based off history, right?
But see, I think that a lot of that comes from an area of power. Is that they had the power to assert dominance, so they treated each other. They treated anyone who they felt like they could conquer like shit, which was at the time.
Right, but the thing is,
known fucking world.
Right, but you say that, but the people that had power in they like that they conquered when trying to go to their spot, they was comfortable with what they had.
Doing their own
and the next thing you know, right, we chilling. The next thing you know, these motherfuckers ain't comfortable. Y'all got a whole continent over there, and you got to bring your ass back down here to take some of this.
And that's what I'm saying is that, like, if you look at the melanin people, which are people with color in their skin.
Oh, you going down? You about to go down this Nick Cannon rabbit hole? You keep talking.
I'm not about to go down this.
It sounds like you about to go down the rabbit hole.
I'm just saying that most of those people, at some point in time, found equilibrium within their environment. Take Native Americans; they were over here and found some type of equilibrium, right? Right. Take people in Africa; they found some type of equilibrium, right? Right. You look at the Middle East; they found some type of equilibrium, right? Europe was all about conquering and taking over shit. And then you look at the Asian people, they found some type of equilibrium. So, I mean, this is all just not scientific, but you look at all the people with some type of color in their skin, they found a way to reach equilibrium. The people that didn't have color in their skin,
with their environment.
Yeah, with their environment. Now, that does not mean that they weren't fighting with each other or doing dirty things or whatever. No. What I'm saying is that, because as a matter of fact, if you look at even people in China, you see that the Chinese, they didn't want to have nothing to do with the outside world. They want to be over in China and do their own thing, right?
They were forced to open up.
Forced.
Because they showed up at their doorstep yesterday one day with cannons and weapons, and they realized we ain't prepared for this shit.
Right. Over here doing karate and bowing and meditating. Y'all want to fight.
And you look at the people, and you look at the Native Americans, and also you can look at some of the other Latin, the Aztecs, all those type of people. Because I think a story just came out that the reason why we lost the whole Aztec way of life was that some Spaniards showed up with like smallpox.
Yeah.
Killed 15 million of them, and their whole way of life is
Columbus
just done.
Did the same thing in the Caribbean. He showed up in the Caribbean with diseases that their body didn't have no immunity for, and wiped out whole populations of people.
Right. So that's where I say I'm not about to just. And I think the problem that he had was he tried to lump it and say that it was just, darker skinned, melanin, African descendant type people who got no qualms, no beef or whatever. And then these people without that same melanin are the savages, evil, blah, 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 blah. When it's not, when you try to make that argument, you kind of lose some of your validation because you leave out the rest of the groups that make up people with color in their skin, which would give you a more valid argument.
And to this point, I think I find some irony in the fact that the white folks don't like to be lumped all together in one pool, and just to say that all white folks, oh man, you call all of us savages? Welcome to our world where we are blamed. We are constantly lumped in with the bunch. You know what I'm saying? Like, as black folks, we carry around when Eric Garner gets choked out, all of a sudden the police here are looking at me different, like I'm about to flip out, but no one judges every white person as if they were fucking Jeffrey Dahmer. It's not fair. It's not fair. So when they get a taste of their own medicine, like, you can't judge me like that.
But the funny thing is that, like, nobody actually said anything about his comments on white people. Did not give two fucks.
That's the crazy part. When you listen to it, I'm like,
I'm listening to the Israelite anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Wait. Y'all gonna jump right across all this savage ass shit he was saying and go straight to, he was saying you can't put down the Jews. What kind of
and
But
the first thing they say is that you can't be anti-Semite if you are the original Semites, and it may be true, but y'all splitting hairs here on terminology. You know what he means. You know what they meant. You being mean to Jewish people. You can't do it.
But see, the problem is that there is a smidge of truth in what he said, but the way that he presented it was from a standpoint of, like I said before, the conspiracy rabbit hole instead of a point of knowledge. Because if he would have came at it from a point of knowledge, some of the things that he was saying are true. Because let's just be honest, Jewish people own.
We are not about to get canceled today.
No, I'm not a remote. What I'm saying is true. Jewish people actually own a lot of wealth. Let's just be real.
They own a lot of wealth, and they own a lot of
media,
in power of the media companies.
Right.
There's no lie in that. When you say they own everything and they control everything and they control what you hear and they're part of the Illuminati, once again,
that's where you start to dive into the conspiracy rabbit hole, and you start looking at getting canceled.
Yeah. So
rather than making the real valid argument, which is that, like, hey, let's look. Jewish people own a lot of media. Jewish people own a lot of wealth.
Right.
Which means that they have a lot of voice in what you hear, say, and do.
So the funny part about all of this story pivoted. It pivoted rather rapidly. So right after this whole comments came out and it came to light, Nick Cannon, made some comments on this. He's an anti-Semitic and he called white people savages. And you're like, whoo. So this is, of course, why I wanted to listen to it. I wanted to hear it in its original context. So Viacom fires him and cancels Wild 'N Out, which was it's a damn shame. I don't watch Wild 'N Out, but it sucks to see all of those people who had nothing to do with it.
I thought they just fired him. They let Wild 'N Out stay.
No, he said that he owns it.
Yeah, he owns.
He says he owns the IP.
You put this shit on TV without me.
Yeah. So he felt like he owns it. So the legality of who actually has ownership of it is going to keep that thing in limbo for years.
Yeah, but if you really look at Wild 'N Out, the people who really made the show were the other people around him,
and that's
like
those guys that I feel bad for, because those are the guys that was a source of revenue for them.
But they can recreate Wild 'N Out just without that name with those people, and all you really need to do is find you don't have to call it Wild 'N Out. You don't can call it whatever you want to. Keep those people.
But like you said, litigation, some type of litigation gonna come behind that.
Yeah,
you're spinning off of this show just because you fired him and you can't call him the same thing. It's, like you said, he got plenty of money. He ain't hurting for nothing. He gonna have something to say. Y'all can do it, but I need a percentage.
Yeah. He ain't got, and no, he doesn't have to get a percentage because you can't patent an idea. A sketch comedy show cannot be patented. So I can basically hire everybody who he let go of, and I can start a whole nother show, and I can call it whatever I want to call it. I just can't call it Wild 'N Out. So I can call it Let's Get Crazy and hire all the same people, and the show actually would carry on, because if you really look at, if you ever watch Wild 'N Out, you'll see that Nick Cannon really doesn't have.
If you did that, I would sue the shit out of you. My team of lawyers would put an injunction in place and halt anything pending litigation.
And you know what would happen? The first judge that came across it would be like, bite me, ideas are not patentable. Get the fuck out of my court, and you can go ahead and do whatever, but I'm still producing shows, and I'm
that could
still
be the
making
case,
money.
But until that happens, I want you to stop making the show pending litigation.
You can't stop the show because litigation does not stop a show.
You could.
Litigation.
You can get litigation. It is not inherently, but you can. You can put an injunction in place to stop things pending the answer.
Yeah, but typically the way the court system works, they tend to lean towards big business.
I learned that from Law and Order.
So the courts would actually lean towards the big business. So yes, Nick Cannon, spend your money, sue whatever. We still got our show going, and we still making the same paper.
In the aftermath, Diddy said that he should come to Revolt TV and put his show on at Revolt TV. And I don't have that channel, and I don't know I don't even know where to find that channel.
Now that would be interesting though, because if he took because like he could actually take the whole Wild and Out idea to Revolt, and it could actually probably sustain and maintain an audience.
It could be a flagship. That show is sustainable.
And that would be interesting because then there would be nothing for Viacom to do except for just be like, oh, well, moving on.
And not only is the show sustainable, but it's inherently extremely cheap to make. There are no sets. There are nothing. Only thing you're doing is paying for the performances of the people that are on stage. You don't have to.
They travel, sell tickets, and you can, like you said, you can do that. You can even, like you say, you can just get a set and just film it with without a studio audience and still be making shows during COVID.
Revolt, I don't know, on Spectrum, Revolt is somewhere in there because I know when I had Spectrum, I had Revolt. I just never watched it because, like, to be honest with you, I haven't watched BET, VH1, MTV, any of that in like years because, like, I find the whole structure of what they do and everything that they do just repugnant.
So the funny part about it is when I tell you he messed up the bag. Now I don't know if you guys are familiar with Pluto TV, but Pluto TV had a whole Wild and Out channel. They play Wild and Out 24/7 on Pluto TV. I looked up Pluto TV and I found out they were partially owned by Viacom. You not telling me you not making bank? They playing your show constantly? Like, I don't know what your percentage of revenue is. I can't imagine, but I gotta imagine that them checks is coming in regularly. I don't know how much is on them, but I know they're coming in regularly.
Basically, I think one report said that Nick Cannon was making like $60-some million a year on all of his outside products. So all of his entertainment worth, he was making like $60-some million. So if he moved all of that minus the Masked Singer money, I'm pretty sure that's a substantial chunk of change that Revolt would be glad to capitalize off of. And P. Diddy is one to rate people, so
yeah, that's the first thing somebody said was, you out here doing all this pro-black shit, give Mace back his masters. Stop playing. So I feel like Nick Cannon, basically, he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think once you get to making, like I know DP said earlier, he got his degree and it made him feel like he, was more intellectual. I don't know if it was a degree. I think when you make a certain amount of money and you ain't got worries, you start just speaking your truth. It may not be the truth for everybody else, but it's what you believe.
Or
what do they call that?
Freely.
Fuck you money.
Right.
Like, I don't know how much fuck you money is, but he got it.
Right. You know what I'm saying? He at the point where it's like, I'm just gonna say what I think my people need to hear. It might not be, I might not say it the exact way it should be said, but I ain't worried about getting counsel.
And see, my problem with that is that in a lot of times in those situations, those people come at you from a point of not really being the intellectual that they think that they are. So they are actually at a deficit as far as,
I hate when we call people stupid because we don't agree with what they say. Right?
I didn't call them.
You call them non-intellectual because he has a different opinion than what you have.
That was basically stupid. It was basically.
You basically called him stupid.
I called him a non-intellectual because he is not an intellectual. He does not.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an intellectual?
Yes, I consider myself an intellectual. But
how? What makes you more intellectual than him? What do you have that he doesn't have?
Because I actually researched.
How you figure he didn't research?
He didn't research nothing. He just read a bunch of conspiracy theories about it.
So now because it's not an opinion of yours or the rabbit hole which you come from with your conspiracy theories.
No, it's not a rabbit hole. I don't come from.
I feel like
hole.
I don't agree with what you're saying. I think you came out of a conspiracy theory rabbit hole. I think everything that he said could be valid just as much as you think yours is
everything
valid.
That he said could not be valid because he's already came out and said that what he said was not valid.
See, and this is the problem. I don't want to interrupt your argument, even though this is getting ready to go down the drain. But here's the problem. This is the problem that Nick Cannon had. Nick Cannon, the right after he got fired, he's like, I don't have no masters. I don't bend the knee for no masters, right?
Yeah.
Boom. Double down on your comments. I say what I said. I said what I said. You know what I'm saying? Then the very next day, he's like, I apologize. And I hold myself accountable for this moment and take full responsibility for my intentions to show the beautiful human species. And we have more commonalities than differences. And this is where people were pissed. People went from, yo, I rise for you. I ride for you. Maybe you didn't agree with him 100%, but you felt like he was in a place where he could say what he said. And he came from a point where he was for us. He was for black people.
Did he really apologize about anything he said? Like this apology that I read and that you just said. What did he point out?
He basically just said he didn't mean. Well, I think he said it.
The problem people. The problem that I have with people too. The problem I had with you trying to call Nick Cannon an intellectual.
I ain't calling him an intellectual. I'm just not gonna call him a non-intellectual. I'm not gonna
non-intellectual. I'm gonna straight up call him that. The reason why is because what ended up happening was that a particular part of his argument was based upon him only looking at one side of the idea. And if you are a true intellectual, you look at all sides of the idea, formulate your opinion, and put it out there. The problem that he had was that some of the stuff that he said, he did because the reason why he apologized for the anti-Semitic stuff was because he only looked at one side of the issue or one purview. And then when the rabbi talked to him and actually got him to see the rest of the idea, he had to backtrack what he said. And in a typical intellectual, typically does not just look at one thing.
He actually did apologize for the Jewish comments. And this is the part that really is odd to me. Is this the only thing that he apologized for?
Right. Here's the thing.
Because that's the part that he actually found evidence.
What Ryan's saying is that you can't say a statement and then find out that I probably didn't have the whole thing right. So let me revise the way I said it. But to a non-intellectual, when you revise your stuff, when you learn more, you weren't an intellectual in the beginning. I don't understand your point of your chain of thought.
He is not an intellectual because he is not expressly researching what he is spewing out of his mouth. And if he spent his time actually researching what he is spewing out of his mouth and actually studying and learning, then cool, you can be an intellectual and I give you full authority to speak on it and I'm not saying that an intellectual can't be wrong, but what I'm saying is that do you really think Nick Cannon was focused on figuring out whether or not
I think he got more time
about Jewish American people is true, or did he just spew some shit out of his mouth and then with no factual basis and then try to walk it back?
I feel as though your rebuttal comes from, how can I put this? A real high and mighty place. You put yourself on a pedestal as if inherently I am smarter and better than Nick Cannon based off his comments. When people make bad comments, no. You didn't say that. I am going off the context of your words, not something you actually said. From the perception of what way I feel, and probably everybody who's listening, is that you think you're better than Nick Cannon based off, and that you're smarter than Nick Cannon because he didn't take the time to read what he was saying. No, and I'm going to learn you today. Now, apart from that, what I will say about Nick Cannon and this whole thing is that Nick Cannon made a mistake that a lot of interviewers make, and he was bought into the things that Professor Griff was saying. You don't have to say those things. Professor Griff has nothing to lose. You see, he said crazy shit. Ain't nobody canceling him. Nobody's canceling him, right? But
because he's already been canceled.
Because Nick Cannon has shit to lose. Nick Cannon has things to lose. And when you bring on somebody like that, you let him say all the crazy shit. And then you just like, okay. And so let me ask you this question. And let me ask you that question. Because if you start buying into what they're saying and you start saying that, the first person they're going to go at is the person with something to lose.
And so to me, that's what separates Nick Cannon, the intellectual, from Nick Cannon, the businessman. And so you can't say that you're an intellectual and not understand the process. because like somebody else said that Nick Cannon sat down with Barack Obama and a bunch of other people and learned some things, and that's precipitated the change. In my opinion, if you would have been an intellectual, you probably would have asked some of those people beforehand in order to confirm your information, and then let that shape your opinion and move forward. And like Country Boy said, rather than approaching Professor or this Griffin guy as a expert, you would have approached him as, let's have a conversation. Let me figure out where you stand and what we can agree on and what we can disagree on and move forward. That's not what Nick Cannon did. So I'm not calling Nick Cannon a non-intellectual for a lack of knowledge. I'm calling him a non-intellectual for a non-acceptance or a non-understanding of the process in order to be able to propagate and put out an idea that is 100% authentic and intellectual in the process.
Who pumping out these 100%?
Wow.
Who pumping out these 100% he talking about? Shit, just listening to us speak on a regular basis, we ain't pumping out 100%, especially not you. I didn't mean 100% as
100% factual. I'm saying 100% authentic and 100% from a place of true unbiased opinion and true 100% trying to disseminate information.
True unbiased opinion. Can you put those three words together and tell me how they go? The true, unbiased opinion.
When I listened to him speak just a second ago, I promise you, when I tell you Wicked Thurman is the master of saying a lot and saying nothing at the same time.
Nothing at the same goddamn time. You just said it back to true, unbiased opinion. Come on, Ryan.
Yes.
You got all the degrees behind you.
There is a such thing.
Unbiased opinion.
Because let's be honest with you.
What's the definition of opinion?
Because let's be honest with you. Anything anybody says is opinion. However, you can put out a biased opinion because that's what Fox News does on a daily basis, right? That's a biased opinion. Now, if you turn around and you say, okay,
true biased opinion?
Yeah, but if you actually put out factual information which you actually believe, it can't be anything but an opinion, and it's your beliefs, and you can put it out there, but it can still be biased because you're only looking at the information from what your perspective is, right? And so I'm not saying that two people can't have different unbiased opinions, because we all look at things in different ways, and different sets of people can look at things differently. However, what I'm saying is that you can't put this information out there and try to placate or play it as 100% fact when it's not 100% fact. And so that's where
43 damn minutes. Oh no, we got to move on.
Let's move on, because like it's getting convoluted and it's getting complex. And what we're having here is we're having.
But I think the overall thing,
and I don't know if we want to have
that we do agree with that. You know, all people, should be valued based off their actions, right? That we all
we should be looking. You should be looking at most people. Most people want to be judged individually. Everybody wants to be judged individually,
just based off your own actions.
Yeah, and it's a very slippery slope when you start grouping entire groups together
and saying they all like that.
And right? Saying
the way they've been treating black people for a while, right?
Yeah. We want to get away from that as black people, and it's a slippery slope when you start doing it to other groups. But 100%. we're about to do it. We're about to do it to another group, because we're gonna talk about the fucking Redskins. We're gonna talk about the fucking Redskins. So, oh man, this is a crazy story. So, leading up to all of the protests, and the things with George Floyd and the people rioting in the streets, the idea of racist ideologies and statues and things that we had come accustomed to, they want to tear those things down now within society. Stuff that we had just like, whatever, man, that shit's racist. But what you gonna do? Now they're like, fuck that shit. That's ridiculous. We don't want to deal with Christopher Columbus. We don't like these Confederate statues.
Are you trying to have another 40-minute conversation?
No, we're gonna get to it.
You need to pair it. You need to.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay.
We don't want any of those things. This brings us to the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins have been the face of basically racism against Native Americans since I think it happened in what, the 60s?
Yes. No,
Yeah,
30s.
since the
The
30s.
Washington Redskins were founded in the 1930s. The name is based upon it. Well, it depends upon who you look at. What the name is based on. The name is really based upon the fact of is that white people, when they first got here, they wanted to take the Indians' land from them, and they used to pay people to give them a red skin, which is the scalp of a Native American.
Now, I read that, but they also said that originally when the colonials came to the New World, they didn't call themselves white. They called themselves Christians. Later on, they started dividing each other up based on color. So they were white, black people were black, Native Americans were red, right? So based on that connotation, everybody just kind of gravitated to their color. They felt like that inherently this name wasn't originally racist, but that over time the name Redskins has become a racist term because of how people felt about it. They felt about like black. If you said black skin or white skin, you were like, that shit's fucking racist. You said Redskins, you assume that that's in the same block. But at the time when they were calling each other this, apparently it wasn't racist. Now, that also is the story that you told about them wanting to do the scalps. That's the other story. There's two forms of thinking. The other is that they were out here trying to procure scalps from Native Americans, and that every redskin you brought them was considered, a redskin or celebrated. It was celebrated. So this brings us to the current day, fucking Redskins. So they are attempting to change the name.
No, they have.
Well,
it's changed.
It's coming, but it hasn't. They don't have a new name. So until they have a name, we got a blank space that we have to call them, and I'm gonna call them the Redskins or the Skins or whatever. So
no, you call them the Washington team.
They did a survey. They were like, "Hey, we need to change this name because the climate is changing. The climate changed rather rapidly. And honestly, if this is what it took, you should have been done it. If you felt like this name and all it took was the tide of public opinion and your sponsors saying that they were going to back out like FedEx and Nike, you should have bent it. What was you waiting on?
Well, see, the problem was that people have had a problem with it for
years,
umpteen years now, because you've got a lot of ESPN reporters, and I can only go based on ESPN because that's the one that's predominantly out there. They would not say the R word. They would call them the Washington team.
Yeah.
Right. And so that issue has been out there, but Dan Snyder, he bought into the fact of is that I'm not going to change the name because the name, quote unquote, has history, right?
Right.
And so if you want to actually go into, there have been Native have actually said publicly, I hate this name. It needs to be changed. Right. Now, there is another sect of people who, let's be honest with you, there are a lot of people who have Native American in their blood and will, quote unquote, claim themselves as Native American and be like, oh, I'm cool with it. It celebrates me. But
does it?
Yeah, does it really? Because like if you would have had a team called the Washington N-words,
right.
The first thing I would have did was went down there and burnt down the goddamn stadium.
Right.
That's
right.
Be real.
The Washington black skins.
I mean,
they got a dude with big lips and jet black on the
and I don't care how many times you convince some Native American to do your jig and draw you a mascot,
a typical media solution, right?
Put
somebody out that is of that race and show that they don't have a problem with it, and that should subjugate everybody.
Yeah. And once again, we're talking about getting here. You once again, you got one person representing an entire race. That one guy he out here, the one Native American doing the whole Candace Owens for his entire people.
Yeah, because the actual emblem that they currently have was actually designed by a Native American.
Yeah, I think he was Blackfeet. I think that's what Wikipedia said. It was. I think he was Blackfeet.
Yeah.
Was the guy who designed it.
And so because he designed it, it's fine. The Blackfeet tribe agrees with us. Cool, we can keep the name no matter what the connotation is, no matter how it's subjugated people.
When I got had my payday and I'm out, just like, look,
no matter how
I draw y'all a picture. How much you gonna pay me?
And so, and me, I promise, I honestly look at it from the fact of is that like, what if? And this is something that I feel as though people who have never been in this type of situation, what if they did that for my people, the African American? What if we would have came out with they would have came out with some BS like that for us? How would I feel about it? And me, like I said before, burn down that stadium.
Burn the fucking thing to the ground. Fuck it.
Burn them headquarters down. That shit needs to go.
It's got to go. And honestly, it's the sort of thing that feels so racist that you're shocked it took this long. One day, I promise you, one day people gonna look back on this and they were like, they just changed the name in 2020. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. It was been racist a long time. We don't know how we got here. One thing I will say is that I'm kind of sad, not because I like the name, but just because, I mean, that NFC East, it's just, I mean, the Giants, the Eagles, the Cowboys, it's just used to it. I'm just so used to it that the idea that now it's going to be called something else, it's like, word.
Yeah, like, you got to get something else to play into the narrative.
You can't. It feel like you're breaking up the band. It feel like you're breaking up the band. Like, hey, look, y'all, break it up.
You notice
change the name.
They changed the name of the Washington Bullets.
They did.
And that of the Washington Wizards.
Right.
How common is it for you to say the Washington Wizards? You don't even think about the Bullets no more, and it's basically just a throwback jersey that they say. So if you can say Washington Wizards and you got no qualms with that,
you think they're gonna put the Washington Hillbillies up there?
They should.
The Washington Rednecks.
It should be like a guy with like one of them drums with the little X's on it, blowing into it or drinking it.
Again, hey, that's why Bomani Jones, who is my hero, except for I hate him on any show that he does, but he's my hero. When he wore that, you remember the Caucasians t-shirt that he wore? That to me was like epic, and I was like, I don't even think the people understand the irony of seeing this white dude with dollar signs in his eyes on the front of a t-shirt.
They didn't understand the irony, but they were pissed. They were mad as shit about that shirt.
And the rest of us are sitting here looking at that shit and saying, do you not comprehend what he did? Do you not comprehend that we still have the Cleveland Indians?
He said they still coming in last place.
And then the crazy part about the Indians is they getting over scot-free over here. I mean, they also reviewing a name change, but everybody's like Redskins. The Cleveland fucking Indians. No one calls Native Americans Indians anymore, but you over here just living rent-free. You know,
rent-free. I said that's gotta go. And it's funny because like when the Washington team did what it did, you know, they brought up the Chiefs, the Braves.
You had to point it. Some of those teams have,
and the Seminoles.
The Seminoles are the Seminole Nation granted them the ability to have that name. The guy that rides out on that horse is a member of the Seminole Nation. Of all of the Native American team names, the Seminoles is the most legit. Now, granted, you might be somewhere else and be like, yo, I still hate it. But they did it. They went about it.
But it's no negative connotations with these other names, though, right? With like the Chiefs or like you say, the Seminoles. What's the negative connotation behind those?
It's just a name. It's just the name of a tribe.
The Redskins.
Redskins, that's negative. And see, that's my thing. Because like,
and the Cleveland Indians might, like you said, that might have to go too.
Somebody should buy the Redskins and just name them like the Washington Black Power.
Now you fuck around, put BLM on there. You these motherfuckers gonna lose their mind.
Lose their mind.
Hey, but I think I did hear a piece. I think I did hear a piece of that Entanglement song by August.
Oh,
y'all heard that shit?
Let me just say this before you go down that road. That song is fucking trash. Like, let us remember through all of this about August Alsina and Will and Jada that August Alsina music is still fucking terrible. Like, it's still bad.
Still got. I don't care how many likes or looks you get because of this entanglements. That shit is still garbage.
Still trash.
It's still garbage. It is trash.
Oh man, y'all didn't call the man music trash.
You know how hard I had to find it? I went on YouTube and it was like claimed. Like, hey, one of these, somebody gonna play this song for me. And I played it and I was like, I wasted 10 minutes of my life to listen to this bullshit.
Right. So say she like it.
Oh yeah. I mean, hey, everybody likes something. I can put it that way. Everybody likes something.
I will say this about that, and we done moved on, man. But these conversations are fluid, man. You know, fuck the Redskins. Fuck the Redskins. It's changing. The problem I have with August Alsina, and we're not gonna talk about their relationship. I don't like the idea that a lesser celebrity, a D-list celebrity, B-list, or whatever you consider him to be, can further his celebrity status on the back of another celebrity. You know what I'm saying? It's like stabbing you on your back to climb up your back so that I can now be higher and better. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, yeah, I fuck Jada. Listen to my new album. Come on, cuz. Like, you okay with that? That feel right to you? That feels right?
No, it don't feel right. That's some bullshit.
That's some bullshit. And then people you see this more with people who aren't famous. Who people, you know what I'm saying? So like Shade Room, or people who are like, oh, I met this person and he did X, Y, and Z, or look at this famous person acting crazy. And then now, hey, come to my page, check out my YouTube channel or whatever. Like that's not right to me. Like, you getting famous on the back of someone else is bullshit. Yeah. It's garbage.
It always pisses me off when somebody comment blow up or they blow up and then you read the comments about whatever and there's somebody posting their shit in there. Like,
yeah,
come on, cuz.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, nobody came here to see you. This is not necessarily about you. Now, as far as with August, I don't know how you sleep at night. Like, through this entire thing, like the fact that you could just nuke someone else's marriage. Like, imagine we all just regular people, right? You have some issues with your wifey. You know what I'm saying? You tell her, we on a break. You do you do me. She smash your son's friend. You know what I'm saying? Some nigga you done let in your house. Some nigga you see every day. Some nigga you like, oh yeah, he cool. I like that little dude. That's Jaden's friend. You know what I'm saying? Now you got to see this dude on a regular basis. But not only did he smash, but he go around and tell people that I smashed your wife and that you gave me permission to do it. Like, so now you look like now you in this mess. You know what I'm saying? If it were me, if it were Will, and Will has been getting the shit into the stick this entire thing, but if it were me, I'm gonna have to kill you. I'm gonna have to fuck you up. You can't leave here. I gotta fuck you up now. You know what I'm saying? I like you too. I called y'all.
Well, see, I think Will Smith take it as the bruh, fuck you, my bank bigger than yours. So you enjoy your 5 seconds, 15 minutes, whatever fame.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Money can't cover up hurt. Sometimes the amount of money you got ain't got shit to do with whether or not somebody can touch your feelings. And Will got his feelings touched. And you can see it in his face. He was in his feelings.
He probably so far away. It's been so long since he got his feelings touched. He probably didn't even know what that felt like. Like he like, I thought I was good. What am I feeling? The little nigga that was running around in here?
And he had
jealousy I'm feeling? He's shooting the club up.
Right.
I'm done with y'all, man.
I thought you got your tubes tied for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I'm done with y'all.
I'm done with myself. I'm so sad that we even brought this up. Lastly,
you the one that spent it here.
I did spend it here. So I got one last thing. Dan fucking Snyder. And this is kind of Redskins related. But wow. The whole Dan Snyder thing. 4 days before it dropped, I was hearing, because I'm on Twitter a lot these days. So 4 days before it dropped, I'm hearing like tweets from blue check news journal. I mean, sports news journalists. And they're like, something's wrong, something happening with the Redskins. All right. So normally when you hit 1 or 2, you're like, yeah, whatever. That's a nothing burger. I done seen these before. You say something bad gonna happen, and then they announce that, you know, the media relations guy got fired. Like, no, not doing it. But then it started to pick up steam. It was like, oh, it's some nasty shit getting ready to come out. Some nasty shit. So it got to Thursday. And I'm like, if you don't tell me what's happening, I'm sick of this. I've been waiting for 3 days to find out what's going on. And here's the thing: the journalists knew, they just wouldn't tell. They wouldn't say nothing. They were just like, "Hey, from what I heard." I'm like, I don't care what you heard. Tell me. You guys break everything. I seen, you know, Adam Schefter and Wojo run down an old lady to try to get that tweet first out about a trade or a medical report. But this, you don't say nothing.
No, you know what happened, right? The Washington Post put that shit behind a paywall.
Yeah, they put it behind a paywall.
So if you wanted the information, you had to go to the Washington Post and pay to get the full story. And so I think what it was a bunch of people conspired to say that we're going to keep print journalism alive. So we're going to make y'all pay for the information. So if you want to know what was happening with the Washington team, what was going on with Dan Snyder, what he knew, what he didn't know, pay. And that's what it is.
It was some bullshit. And then when the whole thing dropped, everybody was like, because I was talking to Dave, you know, he a Skins fan. But I'm like, Dave, hey, this might be happening. Daniel Snyder might have to sell the fucking team. He might get swept up in this. And then the report came out, and I'm like, 20 executives close to Daniel Snyder. Close? Nigga, that is not what I'm looking for. I need him to be directly implicated in the sexual assault. If he is not, he's not going to sell the team because he's going to say that's not me.
That's what I was trying to tell y'all, was that like none of the reports said that Daniel Snyder touched, said, did anything. It was just people in his inner circle. And so I'm like, he ain't got to sell the team. It wasn't like he was involved in. He going to always pass the buck.
Mm-hmm. So if Jerry Richardson's stance, Jerry Richardson was directly accused of sexual harassment allegations. They accused him. In this particular instance, this is just a failure to lead. This is you creating an environment where things like this could happen. This is not legally. He is not in any legal trouble. He not gonna get Bill Cosby. He not gonna get put in jail because he didn't do nothing. He just created an environment where people could be disgusting to one another, and that's not inherently illegal. Not that part.
And so I was like, most likely what's going to happen is, if anything, worst case scenario, the NFL is probably going to ban him for a year. So he's not going to lead the team, and they may take some draft picks and charge him some money or whatever. He's still going to own the team. He's just going to have to hire somebody else to be head, whatever his job was with the team, which I think he was like, when he like president or CEO or something of the team.
He's president. He most likely is the last guy to sign off on things.
So basically they're gonna take away what he's probably worse than, and was probably sunk the Redskins, which is he's not gonna be involved with football operations anymore. So in actuality, I think the Redskins probably will be better. And if he just
this is exactly why they brought in Ron. This is why they brought in Ron Rivera anyway, to handle these things. So not having Daniel Snyder there to fuck shit up is probably better for him. He probably, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's why I'm like, you know what? So I'm like, in actuality, it's possible that the Redskins next year could win the Super Bowl. Not this coming season, but the season after it could possibly win the Super Bowl.
I mean, because we're not gonna play next season. Do you know they're trying to start a training camp next week? Next week.
Oh no, man, they're gonna play next season. Oh no,
them niggas gonna die. There is you don't have any safeguards in place whatsoever. These dudes just going to play, and they going home to their wife, going to the store. This is not like the NBA where they got a bubble. They just living their regular life. There is no way you can protect. What they got, like 300 some odd players, 350 some odd players?
No, I think that what they're going to do is they're probably going to go in the same type of bubble that the NBA has promoted, and I think that that's where they're going to eventually end up at. I just don't know if they're going to start there or if they're going to
Cowboys
be led
about to
there.
make a bunch of money. They finna send everybody to jail world.
Yeah,
because it's possible that, like, you know, with the NFL team, you could possibly sequester all the players into a hotel.
Dude, I haven't played basketball since the coronavirus started. I ain't played basketball in like 6 months. Probably won't play basketball for the rest of the year because
I already count that out.
basketball, physical contact sports are like fucking
Right there.
virus magnets. You're gonna tell me you're gonna tackle some dude for 3 hours every single day, and you don't even have some type of plan in place? Like, where they do that at? This is a terrible idea. Like, there's no way these people are not going to get sick. No fucking way.
Well, see, I think that the problem is with, in my opinion, the whole problem with the coronavirus and the response to it is that, like, nobody, well, I ain't gonna say nobody. Obama had a plan, and if the power to be would have bought into basically what the government had put out as far as pandemic responses from the beginning, we wouldn't be in the current situation that we're in.
No.
But because you had this a-hole in the office, and so I'm gonna remind everybody that's the reason why we vote, because we had this a-hole in office who decided that anything that Obama put out or researched or did whatever
sucks
should be torn up. We get the position that we're in now. That's simple.
Yeah, I think we, just from my experience of being out and just looking at people watching, I think we just gonna push towards the point of where people just gonna die. I think we just gonna keep pushing
at a place. We have
people don't give a fuck no more.
We have flooded our engine and we gonna gun it. That is our.
We have
flooded our engine with gasoline,
like,
and we just gonna
whatever. Like, fucking hold my beer, and that's what people doing. It's just like, you know what? There's a big ass sign on the door that say, "Please put a mask on before you come in." Fuck that sign. I'm going in here, and restaurants and places don't even want to fight people. They just sit down, man. I ain't even finna fight you.
And you know what the funny thing about it was that the whole reason. Now let's separate two people, right? Fauci is an intelligent, smart. He is a epidemiologist, and he's about that business.
Yes.
The jackass that he's advising is a dumbass that don't know shit. The reason why Fauci said don't wear masks was because he wanted people who were serving in the hospitals and everything to be able to get masks.
Right.
So that's the whole reason why he said he didn't rush and tell everybody to go get masks. Right.
Right.
And so what he did was once he found out that there were enough masks for the people who are helping people to have masks, he was like, okay, now we can shift gears and say everybody wears masks.
Right.
The jackass who is in charge doesn't really work like that. Only thing he's concerned with is, I'm a businessman, so I need business to go. So that is one of the reasons why I said that he's pushing people to go back to school, is because if you understand anything about production, you understand that school districts buy a lot of stuff.
Not only
they buy
but
food, paper,
yeah,
pencils.
But I mean, not only that, but if schools aren't open, people can't go to work. Like, if I got to stay home and watch my kids, I'm not going to be at work.
Right. And so he was his train of thought is I need this economy to be moving, so I need people to go back to work, so I got to do whatever it takes to get people back to work. Fauci is like, wait a minute, now, whoa, time out. Let's think about epidemiology. Let's look at, contact tracing. Let's look at masks. Let's look at all this stuff. Well, Fauci basically can't get fired because he's head of the NIH.
Yeah, he can't. They can't fire him. They can minimize his.
They can do stuff to minimize.
They can minimize him, but they can't fire him.
Right.
They would have fired him already.
Right, but if you turn around and you look at somebody like Deborah Burke, who is, what is she the head of? Like, whatever government agency, she can directly be fired. Right. So they can trot her out and they can tell her, Trick say this, and she will regurgitate whatever the asshole says, and Nothing.
To the
I
moon.
mean, there's nobody to refute that.
To the moon. I mean, like I said, if people wear their mask, the CDC said if people wear their masks, we could get this virus under control in a matter of weeks. I don't subscribe to that theory. I think it would take much longer than that. But what I will say is that if you wear your mask, we could be trending in a better direction. We could trend downwards instead of upwards. But people don't wear their mask because they made a political statement, and now it's like, I don't want to live in fear. Motherfucker, you ain't got to live in fear to put your mask on. Like, all I'm asking you to do is just to wear a mask. It don't even have to be a great mask. You could just wrap a shirt around your face, just as long as you're not spewing your nasty, sick ass germs all over everything. And then like, hey, not my problem anymore. Who the fuck kind of person?
I mean,
2020, man. 2020
to me, it goes back to, in my opinion, colonialism, which I think is the bane of all of our existence. And the sooner we acknowledge that, we can start combating it. But to me, it's colonialism. It's the notion that I can never have enough. I must take more. And so as long as that mentality persists and is perpetuated.
Yeah, that shit called capitalism now, ain't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you can think about forms of capitalism in the same way. And by no means, I don't want anybody to think that I'm on the socialist bandwagon, because I am far from a socialist. I actually hate socialism as much as I hate just pure capitalism. To me, both of those are two institutions that I don't understand how people can subscribe to them and live at night. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So what's the answer? If it ain't socialism or capitalism, what's the third option?
It's actually like a
mixture of the two.
Hybrid
type of
is that called what, democratic socialism?
It can be. The problem is that as soon as you say that S word, it's done.
Here's the thing. We don't have a problem with socialism. We are socialists when it comes to corporations. As soon as this pandemic popped off, they had no problem.
All kind of free shit.
Oh, no problem handing out all kinds of free shit to a corporation. You know what I'm saying? They gave your ragged ass $1,200 and gave trillions to, Shake Shack. You know what I'm saying? Or Yeezy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, nigga, and they ain't gonna tell you should be happy with your $1,200 and you can live off that for months. Bitch, I barely paid my mortgage. I'm already broke. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is bullshit.
It's so funny because, like, when most of the people who argue against socialism are the people who receive the most from socialism. Those are people like farmers.
Yeah.
People that own big corporations. Those type of people. Banks. I love banks. Banks are some of the most conservative people that you ever want to meet. Do not agree with anything socialist. Hate it to death. But you basically precipitate socialism because you take 0% loans from the Fed.
Yeah.
So you basically get a loan at 0%, then charge me 3 for a mortgage, 7 for personal, up to 20% for a credit card.
Nah, here's the killer.
How the fuck does that work?
Here's the killer. They take your money, put it in a savings account, reinvest your money, and then pay you what? Less than 1% on the
0.75%.
You're literally making money on my money by investing it, and then you pay me nothing.
And we'll turn around and like I said before, in any credit card that you have, typically I think I have a credit card that gets like about 8% as the APR. And the only reason why I got this credit card is because I got it back when I was like in college, and I just kept it since then. So this credit card is like 20 years old. And I'm pretty sure that if any point in time, if I would have fucked that thing up, they would have closed that thing in a second and cut it up, right?
Right.
Any credit card I've gotten since then has been 18, 19, 20%, as high as like 30%. So I'm like, so wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that a credit card is getting 30%, but you want to give me on my savings account, you only want to pay me 3/4 of 1%. but you making 30% off this money I done gave you.
No, and I didn't mean to turn this into a financial thing, but lastly, escrow on your house. Escrow, they take your money. Hey, we saving it for you so you can pay your property tax. That's cool. It's cool. So, how much interest am I accruing on putting this money in the account? Zero. Fuck you mean zero?
Strong
Fuck
zero.
You mean zero?
We're gonna hold on to this money.
We're gonna hold on to this money, which they take and invest.
But I think somebody was trying to put pass something that you start getting some kind of interest on that escrow. I don't know what law that was that somebody was trying to do.
Oh man,
I'm not even
for years.
I'm not even mad. I actually don't hate escrow. I like that they just set that shit aside and you're not getting no $4,000 bill at the end of the year because that's some shit like you look up like, hey, I'm gonna start a GoFundMe page.
Pay my taxes.
Because I ain't got it. But I feel like we should be making some money on it. On another note,
it's a hell of an idea. Yeah. If you reinvested my shit, I need a piece. Yeah,
you need to be giving me a piece. On another note, I don't know how we got here. I'm not even mad. We like an hour and some change in. This was honestly, I probably would chop this up because that first half with the Nick Cannon shit, I'm just probably drop that straight Nick Cannon. That's 45 minutes. That's a solid episode. And I got another one. I got another one. We just shooting the shit. So what I did with the episode about Jada, Will and Jada and August Alsina is I took both of the episodes we talked, like with the first part where he had an interview and then the second part with the update and put them shit together like one episode. Boop, drop that out. Brown Table Talk out now. Get that. That came out today. so yeah, man, that's dope. And also, I don't know if you saw, but I put together the first episode of One Mic, which is I'm kind of proud of it. It's kind of dope.
Yeah, I saw the preview clip. I heard
yeah. I'm trying to work on my voice, get my talking voice.
Yeah. And Sergeant such and such had trouble. It's like he got real close to that thing.
You got to get in on it. You got to get in there, dig into that.
Got in the back room to turn the lights off. Hey, y'all got to be quiet. Hey,
about to get real sexy in here.
I want to bring up something though, because I was like, do y'all think that it's propagating basically what I call torture porn? Which basically means that like we talk about the bad shit that didn't happen, which needs to be talked about, but we never discuss, I guess what got us to that point where they even need to torture us in the first place. Well, so we never explain the positives and the good work that we did to get to that point where they could tear it down.
The plan is to start with this one because this actually is a short story. It's not very long. It's only like 20 minutes long. This whole story from start to finish. But the next one I'm going to do is the Harlem Hellfighters, who that story coincides. The Houston riots coincides with the Harlem Hellfighters, and the Harlem Hellfighters is a positive story. You know what I'm saying? So these black guys, Buffalo Soldiers from the 24th Infantry, were going into World War I, into the war effort. They thought a riot was coming and became the mob themselves and started wreaking havoc. Well, in the aftermath of that, the southern states and the northern states basically told them that the War Department, that was your fault. You should not have put them in that position where this could happen because you knew that Jim Crow was a problem. And out of that birth, the Harlem Hellfighters, who were fought for France. They were sent to France and like given to the French army and fought very, very valiantly in World War I for France, and then came home and were treated like shit. They saw how good it was. The French loved them. The French were like, "Oh yeah, man, black people treat them as equals." I wouldn't have came back.
I got a better story.
Extradite my ass.
No, I got a better story that I wanted to tell, which was about this group of black soldiers who were in, I want to say it was Britain or somewhere like that. And what happened was that these black soldiers were treated better on their foreign soil than they were treated in America.
That's about all soldiers.
Yeah. And so what happened was because they were treated so much better, the white soldiers decided that, no, y'all can't be doing this. and tried to bring over that same segregationist bullshit to the foreign soil. And it was so funny because one of the things that they did was they said, okay, well, fine then, since y'all want to play that game, the foreign people decided that we love these black soldiers so much that they put everything as blacks only, slapped them signs up outside and was like, we good. And so that pissed off the white soldiers so much that they decided that they were going to basically fight all of the foreign people and all of the black soldiers. And so rather than being on this foreign soil and being a united front, they wanted to fight against them. And I was like, that is a compelling story. And it's funny because these foreign people, they were like, look, these black soldiers, they didn't protected us. They didn't help us. We are solid. Fuck y'all, get off, go on somewhere. We gonna help them out. And the white soldiers want to fight this so bad to the point where they actually started shooting and warring against the own black soldiers, and ended up killing a bunch of black soldiers. White soldiers ended up getting murdered, and everything ended up starting a whole fight just because they didn't want equality. Crazy.
That is crazy.
I'll get you the information. We'll drop it.
You got to send that. You got to send that to me. And anyway, so my big issue is that creating scripts and reading these books is boring as fuck. So this is what I'm struggling with now. So I got a little bit of time on my hand. I'm trying to keep banging out a couple of episodes. I want to at least get up to about 3 or 4, and then maybe I'll take a bit of a break from it. But I'm gassed up now. I'm gassed up because I done it once. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this shit up. I got a new episode out, dropped today. Brown Table Talk. Go listen to that. It's dope. We back on our bullshit. I put the one black episode on our channel because the separate channel that I created for them is not up and running yet on all platforms. And plus the fact I wanted you to hear what we were working on. So you can also check that out. I dropped that in the middle of the week. So hey, I got 2 new episodes you can listen to. Go listen to all that shit. You can hear me. You can hear us. We being hilarious. It's good stuff. Anyway, y'all want to say peace to the people?
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Deuces.
Deuces.